Peace. What's up, y'all? This is your host, Seneca Scott, Gotham Oakland. I got a really good episode for you today. So if you're waking up in the morning and you're watching this on Saturday morning and you're wondering, where was my Gotham yesterday? I was up late recording it for you so you can learn about ranked choice voting and not make mistakes this year that will lead to another disaster like our current mayor, Shing Tao. So I've got a whole little presentation that I've cooked up for you. But I was going through trying to find some old footage of the election from Don Parada, the first election after ranked choice voting was implemented. And voila, there was actually a story on forgot what news station it is. You'll see in a second. But a news station covered ranked choice voting, and I think it's a really good primer to what we're about to cover today in terms of decoding ranked choice voting, explaining to candidates how should you navigate it if you want to win election, and explaining to the people who are voting how to not have your ballots disqualified due to overvotes and how to get the most use out of your ballot. So if you've been wondering about ranked choice voting, you're in luck. You're here today. I'm going to break it all down for you. So let me share the first video real quick, and we'll get right into it.
San Francisco mayor's race, of course, will be decided by ranked choice voting, which has been around for a while right here in the Bay Area. The idea is actually to save money by having fewer elections, grabbing a broader slice of the electorate with one single vote. But ranked choice voting has also produced some frustration. Wilson Walker looks at the psychology of the vote and the results.
If you like it, maybe, huh?
Look, I have friends
Just reading his body
hate
language.
ranked choice voting. They're convinced it's the root of all evil.
Oh, Lynn!
Longtime Oakland
Lynn, why
political
did you
observer
call
and now
me the
city
front for
council
this
candidate Lynn
interview,
Raphael
man?
is talking about how the votes are counted.
You either love it or hate it.
And in Oakland, this conversation still goes back to the city's very first ranked choice vote for mayor back in 2010.
Things look pretty good right now, but I don't understand ranked choice voting. So who the hell knows?
Don Parada did get the most first place votes, a whopping 40% of them. So very few people expected his 9-point lead to vanish. And that was just one race oddity.
The second piece that was unusual about that race was that the ranked choice tallies were not released for 3 days after the first place tallies had been released. And so the result was that for 3 days, people said, well, Don Parada is going to be the mayor. And then they ran the algorithm and the right.
3 days. You know, this is not an episode about whether I like ranked choice voting. Everyone knows I think it's rigged choice voting. I don't like it. This is an episode on how to win ranked choice voting. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but let's keep watching.
The ranked choice tally and said, actually, he's not.
So it seemed like a plot twist.
It was very much perceived as something unusual has happened here.
Corey Cook is a professor of political science at St. Mary's. He has studied every single ranked choice vote in the Bay Area. And he says the Jean Quan result was both an outlier and a cloud that hung over her for 4 years.
Jean Quan, through no fault of her own, was viewed as not the legitimate winner of the mayoral election in Oakland, even though objectively she was the preferred choice.
This is the closest probably race for mayor in the history of Oakland.
I don't know about
But that dogged her throughout her mayoralty, the idea that maybe she had won through some sort of fluke or some form of gaming or some way that she understood a system somebody else didn't.
There is a sense among a lot of people, and there still is, that first place votes are the only true measure of a winner.
People are hungry for change. They're hungry for a different, more humane, more effective approach to criminal justice.
Another ranked choice vote that is often cited, Chesa Boudin's victory in the San Francisco DA's race.
The rules are the rules, right? Not the rules under the last election or the way you would have liked to have had the rules. You play the game under the rules as they are. Now, we have left out an option.
Perfect. Play the games under the rules as they are. Perfect segue, because that's what we're going to talk about. How do you play the game? Okay, I've got a little presentation for you. The power of alliances and ranked choice voting, lessons from the Tour de France. Now, if you don't know about the Tour de France, it's a big fancy bike race that happens every year in France. Lance Armstrong won a bunch of times before he got busted for doping up for he beat cancer a bunch of times. If you don't know who he is and you're a young person, just look up Lance Armstrong and the Tour de France. We're going to start the presentation on how to win. How do you win? Ranked choice voting is not as complicated, but it's not complicated, which is why we don't need to have it. But anyway, I digress. Slide number 2. Teamwork in the Tour de France, perception versus reality. Many think cycling is an individual sport, but that's far from the truth, especially in this race. Cycling is a team sport, and the Tour de France has 22 different teams or countries. The U.S. is the U.S. Postal Service team. And that team win is based on the lowest collective overall time. But you do have an overall winner. Only one person wears the yellow jersey, that coveted yellow jersey. But the whole team helps them win. So the lesson in Tour de France is to try to figure out who is your lead biker and how do you get them to a win. And the lessons are riders compete individually, but they rely on their teams to win the overall race, especially when you have many candidates, as you did the Oakland mayoral race in 2010, the Oakland mayoral race in 2022, and several races in the upcoming election in just a few short weeks. Now, Oakland's voters approved, as you heard in that video, ranked choice voting in 2010. Since then, 2 mayors and 1 school board member have been elected through this system, where the most popular vote winner did not win the election. So the person who won the popular vote, got the most first place votes, did not win. That was Don Parada and Lauren Taylor. Mike Hutchinson had an election overturned due to ranked choice voter confusion. Progressive candidates and independent expenditures successfully navigated the RCV system in the 2022 election, while moderate candidates struggled. And we're going to get into that in a future slide. So Ignacio, with financial support from IE led by Greg McConnell, who raised nearly $1 million, ran an extremely aggressive campaign encouraging voters to only vote for Ignacio, which is called bullet voting. This heavily contributed to Oakland's Mayor Sheng Tao pulling off extremely narrow victory. And last, this year we got 2 big races, at large and District 3, that have multiple candidates. So whoever navigates ranked choice voting the best this year is likely to see their candidates win. Let's get into why are people confused? So look a little closer here. I don't know how to make this bigger, but as always, zoom in on your slide. There's a reason why we had 3,093 overvotes or mistakes made in an election decided by just 673 votes, 0.5%, which led to Oakland's Mayor Tao winning the election. And the reason is in this highlighted yellow section. If you read those instructions, it's extremely misleading. It said fill in no more than 1 oval per candidate. So think about that. 1 oval per candidate. That means I could fill it out like, okay, if I could put 1 for Seneca and 1 for Greg, I've satisfied that requirement, but I could think that they're both my first choice or they're both rank number 1, and then I've disqualified my vote with an overvote by picking 2 people in the first column. For example, if you look down beneath it, you have a simple poll. That poll looks just like, look at it, the poll looks just like the ballot. And in a poll, you write everything 1, 1, 1, right? You will write, I like everything about either it's all excellent or it's all poor. And you can have multiple excellent and it's fine. And people think of it the same way if you don't explain it appropriately. What it should say is to avoid having your vote disqualified, fill in no more than 1 oval per choice and fill in only 1 vote per candidate. I'll say that one more time. fill in no more than 1 over per choice and no more than 1 vote per candidate. So if you can only vote for each candidate one time and you can only fill in 1 bubble per choice, then I only have 1 first place. I only have 1 second, third, fourth, etc. And you will avoid making mistakes in this election. Also, do not bullet vote. Vote for everyone that you think is an acceptable candidate and leave off the candidate that you don't like. For example, in District 3, just don't put Carol Fife down. You got all these other candidates. You can vote Warren Logan, you can vote Baba, you can vote Michelle, you can vote Stan Hirsch, you can vote Faye Taylor, who I think is a write-in. Just don't rank Fife. But rank any of the other ones in any order you want, but make sure you vote for every single person that you think will be okay in the order that you like them. Leave off the candidate that you do not want to see in office. Moving on. Individual competitors and teamwork. Now, in the Tour de France, riders strive for individual glory, but the team plays a crucial role. For example, sprinters rely on teammates for positioning, break and win, and support. So in the Peloton is what it's called. Notice that they call that indoor bike that you ride a Peloton. A Peloton is also the name for the group of riders who are basically breaking the wind and making it easier for people to travel in a group and have less wind resistance, which actually reduces a significant amount of energy that a rider must exert. The ranked choice voting parallel is candidates all want to stand out, and we all have a little bit of an ego, but you must also appeal to voters who appeal to other candidates so you can run a ranked choice voting slate and have a bike team. And just as the cyclists share the podium with teammates, candidates must share the political stage with their bike team or their political allies. So here's some ranked choice voting basics one more time in case you weren't paying attention. Voters rate candidates have to win the majority of votes to win. Candidates need to win the majority of votes, of course. That makes perfect sense. Here's the importance of coalition. If no candidate gets the majority in round 1, the last place candidate is eliminated and their votes are redistributed to the next preferred candidate, albeit it's done through a closed source algorithm that we can't see. But hopefully one day we will be able to see it, or we've gotten rid of ranked choice voting altogether. Candidates can benefit from second or third choice votes. So here's the lesson. Just like the riders in the Tour de France, candidates need alliances to succeed, and winning requires a broad coalition of support. If you look at that photo here, the former mayor, Jean Quan, she won that 2010 election against Don Parada. Remember, he was confused in the video. I don't know how to do ranked choice voting. I don't know who you paid, Mr. Parada, for your consultancy, but they failed you. You probably overpaid them. Hopefully it wasn't Greg McConnell, but that man be messing up all types of people's money. Anyway, despite losing the popular vote, she won. Jean Quan won. And she won by forming a strategic alliance with Rebecca Kaplan. And she won by telling people to vote for her number 2. She told everybody. And to her credit, she knocked on thousands of doors. Hey, vote for me, number 1. If you don't like me, number 1, just vote for me, number 2, if I'm your second choice. And she got a lot of second choice votes. Here's how you lose a ranked choice voting election. For example, in 2022, where we should not have lost, Lauren Taylor should have won that easy. We're going to get into exactly why he lost. 1 out of 8 voters chose not to rank additional candidates at all, meaning they bullet voted. And 13% of these voters ignored, 13% on 1 out of 8 ignored RCV and just voted for a single candidate. Now, bullet voting varied across the precincts, ranging from 9% of votes, 1 in 11, upwards of 20% 1 in 5. But unlike the voter disparity on the 580 that we covered in previous episodes, and if you haven't watched those episodes, make sure you do. There was no like affluency or economic correlation between these votes. It was pretty much done amongst who campaigned the best for ranked choice voting, which brings me to my next slide. There was a stronger correlation to final candidates. Precincts that ended up favoring Tile, which you can see here in green, were less likely to bullet vote than those who ended up favoring Lauren Taylor. Now, this is consistent with how the candidates promoted the ranked choice voting slates. If you look there, you see that Lauren got the hills and the east, Tile got west, the North Pole, and parts of Fruitvale. Tile got the gentrified areas, and Lauren got the more foundational Oakland areas. Darwin, you were completely off when you said that Tile wasn't the fly. Anyway, let me get back on track here. Bullet voting rate varied greatly by precinct, ranging from 9% upwards of 20%. But there were no correlations between the hills and flats. Both of them bullet voted. Tile had the strategic asset from Hodge and Victory with clear messaging that they should be the voters in ranked choice voting. Lauren Taylor only teamed up, I say belatedly, but belatedly comes on the side of Treva. She was the one who wasn't playing ball. And notably, Idea Left, he was being a big hater. Ignacio's campaign refused to cooperate with ranked choice voting. They stiffed Lauren, and he lost. The rest is history. Put that on McConnell and people who let him run amok. Now, here's an important part. Cycling strategy and alliances. Drafting and collaboration. Cyclists draft behind each other to conserve energy and move faster, and competitors work together to break away from the pack. Here's how you correlate that to ranked choice voting. Let's say you have an incumbent that you need to opposition like Carol Fife. Maybe Warren Logan shouldn't be the person going negative and putting the pressure on her, because he may be able to win over Carol Fife's vote if he's not, pounding away. But another person on his bike team could absolutely pound away and go right at her throat, like maybe Shan Hirsch has been doing in these forums I've been watching. And there could be some kind of alliance, because if you don't decide yourself who your alliance is going to be, and this is for the candidate, if you don't decide yourself who that alliance is going to be, then these IEs are going to decide for you. For example, I believe that there were like 20-something mailers sent on behalf of Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao that looked like this. Ad paid for by Oakland Rising Candidate Committee, sponsored by Center for Empowered Politics. Now, Sheng's campaign didn't pay for this. Alisa Victory had no idea this was going on, and Greg had no idea this was going on, Barbara Hodge. As a matter of fact, Sheng stiffed them. She didn't even meet with them. She disrespected them by standing them up multiple times per meeting and didn't have a good relationship with them. But you wouldn't know that if you were getting mailer after mailer after mailer in your mailbox that looked like this one, telling you to vote for these people in ranked choice voting. The moderate candidates did not have that. Now, I put this little excerpt. It's good to read this. Kaplan, this is a little blast from the past. When Rebecca Kaplan, Rebecca Kaplan has run for every office. She runs for something all the time. She's never won anything but at large. I don't know how many times she's lost. But the point here I want to point out is that when Jean was canvassing, she said, vote for me first. If not, vote for me second, like I said. And she relied on ranked choice voting to beat Parada's expensive campaign and did not spend as much money. Also, if you look down to at the bottom, in 2010, Parada took 40%, as you heard in that news story at the beginning of the program, of the first choice votes, 10% lead. But after Kaplan and Kwan teamed up, their votes were enough to overcome Don Parada. Had he worked with other people, he would have probably been able to win that. So a lot of you are probably thinking, who gets to be the lead biker? Because sometimes it's not obvious. So I'm breaking it down really simple for you right here. You're in luck. I got you. I got your back. Got you. If you want to win an election, you need at least 2 of 3 things. If you got 2 or 3 things, you may be able to pull it off. If you got all 3, you are probably the front runner or the lead biker. You need name recognition, you need money, and you need endorsements. Now, this is why I never won any elections. My first time, I had a little bit of name recognition, absolutely no money, and no endorsements. I earned name recognition through running for mayor. I still haven't had any money or any endorsement. So I never had either 2 out of the 3. But if you can manage to get 2 out of these 3, you can absolutely be a competitive force in any Oakland election for city council, mayor, school board, or what have you. But whoever has the most is the lead biker. And rarely are there 2 lead bikers on the same team, progressives and moderates, or pro-business, or crazy people, however your teams are breaking down. But if this does happen, you should look to polls to try to figure out who the lead biker is, or maybe you should have different teams. But support can be given to everyone equally. You don't have to rank people. You can just let the people decide and just say, you know what? Everyone over here, like in Oakland mayoral election, we're going to look at in a second, are the good guys, and everyone over here on Team Soggy are the bad or dangerous people, and people can make their choices. Now, remember, lesser known candidates with little resources absolutely benefit from having IEs spend money on them. See Elisa Victory in the 2022 election. She got 4th place with 10,000 votes. She beat Treva Reed, which is and I don't want to give all the credit to the IE spending money on her. I absolutely believe that Elisa Victory ran the best campaign for mayor in terms of how hard she worked, the innovation, the way that they just everything about the campaign to me. They had frequent emails. I didn't agree with her platform, but I really respected the tenacity of her and her staff, and they earned every single vote. But they also benefited a lot from these mailers that were sent out with her face on them, like the one I just showed you. Now, lastly, it's the job of the more dominant candidate to convince the weaker candidate to join their team. I'll say it again. It is the job of the most dominant candidate to convince the weaker candidate to join their team, to make them understand we're all a bike team and we win together. Maybe incentivize them or whatever you got to do, but you need to make that happen. Lauren's failure to make that happen is what cost him a very narrow election. It doesn't matter if Tyler cheated to get on the ballot. It doesn't matter if votes were disqualified. Even given that, he could have beaten the refs had he just convinced a few people to do the RCV, mainly Treva. And it's your job if you are the lead biker. Now let's look at that election. Look at those votes. Take it in. Whew. I worked really hard. I just got a little PTSD there, but I earned every one of those 3,745 votes. And if you were one of those people who voted for me in first place, you were an early adopter. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. You are probably one of the more intelligent people in Oakland, as you've seen by our uprising and how sophisticated and how daring and successful we've been putting not 1, but 2 recalls on the ballot. Here's the point I want to make with this slide. In 2022, the moderate candidates got 66,735 votes. Add them up. Who were the moderate candidates? Lauren, Ignacio, Treva, Seneca, Peter Liu. Now, Peter Liu is kind of batshit crazy. He's not a moderate, but you get my point. Who were the progressive candidates? Shing, Elisa, Greg, John Riemann, Tyrone Jordan. They got 58,778. 7,957 difference. A moderate bike team should have won that easily. Had Ignacio not bullet voted with his campaign and had long been able to convince and establish a solid ranked choice voting coalition early on. That is my professional analysis. Let me have some final thoughts. You got the little winner right here. We're in the yellow. Yes, we won. We're going to win. We are going to win in November. Shing is getting recalled. Price is getting recalled. Ron Armstrong will win. Judge Brenda will win. God willing. We got to work for it, but I'm very confident. I don't like ranked choice voting. But while we have it, we need to learn how to navigate it. Candidates need to decide for themselves early on whose bike team they're on and build their coalitions accordingly. Bullet voting leads to losses for popular candidates. Bullet voting leads to losses for popular candidates. Independent expenditures can do whatever they want, including creating ranked choice voting alliances out of thin air. So candidates, wisen up. You're better off talking to people on your own early on, establishing your own ranked choice voting coalition, and being very vocal and visible about these ranked choice voting coalitions as you're on the campaign trail communicating with the voters. And lastly, the best bike team wins. This is hope you like that. All right, that's it. Next week, big week, we're going to be having interviews. Now, I just told you who I wanted to win, so it's probably not fair for me to be interviewing people. But guess what? I'm an honest person. I'm not a newspaper or anything like that. And somebody may just change my mind, but we're going to interview as many candidates who are running for office as we can. If you haven't been contacted by my team yet, reach out to me in the comments, or just, you can find me. I'm easy to get a hold of in Oakland. Reach out, find me, and we'll get you scheduled to be on the show. And it's not one of those fixed forums. I'm going to have serious questions, really good questions to help inform the voters who actually has the knowledge, skills, and abilities to be successful in this job, and help you determine who your bike team's going to be in this pivotal 2024 election. God bless you. I love you. This is your neighbor, Senator Scott. Peace out.
Yo, I swear it's only up from here. Yo, I swear it's only up from here. Yo, I swear it's only up from here. Yo, I swear it's only up from here.